ආයුබෝවන් වැඩවසන මහා සංඝරත්නයේ අවසරයි. අපි ඔබ සැමව සාදරයෙන් පිළිගන්නවා. මේ තමයි අපේ මිල්ටන් කීන්ස් බෞද්ධ විහාරස්ථානයේ සිට මගින් පෙළඹවන දහම් සිසිල වැඩසටහනේ 29 වෙනි කොටස. බොහොම මේ හොඳින් අපි මෙච්චර කාලයක් මේක වැඩසටහන ගෙන යාම ගැන බොහොම සතුටු වෙනවා. එතකොට අදත් අපිට මේ සුපුරුදු පරිදි අපිට බොහොම කරුණාවෙන් අපේ ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේලා තුන්දෙනාම අප සමග සම්බන්ධ වීමට ලැබිලා සිටිනවා. ඒ තමයි අපේ මාතර දික්වැල්ලේ බැවරු කන්නල බුදුරජ මහා විහාර පරිවිනාධිපති අතිපූජ්‍ය සීලසුමන නායක ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේ සාදරයෙන් පිළිගන්නවා. ඒ වගේම සිංගප්පූරු සමාලය ආසියාවේ වාසී ඩොක්ටර් ආචාර්ය සුමන සිරි ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේත් පිළිගන්නවා බොහොම සාදරයෙන්. ඒ වගේම අපේ මිල්ටන් කීන්ස් බෞද්ධ විහාරාධිපති අතිපූජ්‍ය අකුරල සමිත ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේත් පිළිගන්නවා. එතකොට මේ පොඩි වෙනසක් අපි අද කරන්න යනවා. අපේ වැඩසටහන යන්නේ අපි සම්පූර්ණයෙන් බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ අද ඉංග්‍රීසි භාෂාවෙන් පමණක් ඒ වැඩසටහන කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. So we are now changing this particular session we are going to have in English. But of course, at the end, when questions arise, you may put forward your questions either in English or in Sinhala. I'll explain the reasons behind that in a minute. So today's topic is Corona, immunity, and Buddhist spirituality. What an appropriate topic for, and what a timely topic for the current period of difficulty. And now this topic is I am really looking forward to it because I know that throughout Buddhist Buddha's time that there are so many examples of difficulties and diseases being suppressed and dealt with by the power of the mind, the power of Buddhist practice. So we're really looking forward to our Bhante's exposition of this topic. Now, the reason for the English only is purely trying to, previously we've been having both languages, but we want to try and reduce the time. We have been going on for 2 hours usually. So we are trying to limit the time period so that it can be accessed, available to a larger, wider audience. Now, what I mean by that is obviously people are very busy during the evening. So we are trying to make it a shorter. And also we are trying to make it accessible to a younger audience as well. That is not, I do mean, children who are born here and who are, at university or are working here. The younger audience, I think it's so very important that we make our sessions accessible and available to that audience. So I think having it in English is going to help enormously. It doesn't mean to say that we are not going to have Sinhala Dharmadeshana. We will try and alternate, but we will generally try and make it shorter. And we are also trying to bring in a few other changes to make it more appealing, more relevant to a younger audience. I think we really deserve them to benefit out of this very important offering that we are providing. So if you feel that you as people who are participating have some good suggestions and ideas how we can improve on this, please provide us, come back to us, perhaps even during the question and answer time. We would very much welcome those ideas and your suggestions. So without further ado, I think we can get on with our session, and I would like to invite Akurala Samitha and Sumana Siri to start the proceedings.
Good evening, everyone. Namo Buddhaya to all. Welcome back to our Daham Sisila program. Today we are hosting the 29th Daham Sisila program, which has been very helpful to improve our understanding, also to improve our mental, spiritual, psychological environment to deal with this especially very difficult time. I think even at this very difficult time, this program been a great blessing for many because they can spend a very good time. However, we always find certain logistic difficulties to upkeep these programs without having sufficient support. Even today program, we do not have a sponsor. If you would like to sponsor these programs, we are very grateful. And also it is a great opportunity to gain the merits and also transfer those merits to loved ones, and also to make this a special blessing for maybe a special reason like a birthday or some other occasion in life. Life is an opportunity for merits. Life is an opportunity for development. Life is an opportunity for wisdom. Life is not an opportunity for just mere rituals. In that circumstances, Buddhism is a great way of life that gives us different perspectives to understand ourselves and find a very meaningful happiness, sense of joy in this very life. So therefore, we are very happy that during this program called Daham Sisila, we've been able to share very interesting topics. Another step putting forward, we are having a very interesting program today. The title of the program, Dhamma talk today, is Corona, Immunity and Buddhist Spirituality. We have a great scholar, eminent Buddhist monk, to talk about it, who has a lot of experience in medicine and also Buddhist teachings, philosophy, spirituality, and also some other wider subjects in the secular academic level. So we are very happy to welcome our Reverend Dr. Sumana Siri to deliver this talk, and this is going to be all in English. You also can ask any questions in Sinhala. So I also welcome our Venerable Reverend Dr. Sumana Siri to the program, and also our other resident monk at this period, our most Venerable Dickwelle Seelasumana for this program. And we are getting ready for our another very important meritorious activity event of the Buddhist calendar of the Milton Keynes Buddhist Vihara next week. You can see behind me, there is a special tree being set to have the spirit of that traditional ceremony called Cuttino Ceremony. The Cuttino Ceremony of Milton Keynes Vihara will be held next Sunday at the same time, 5 o'clock. You can join in that great meritorious activity by offering robes, offering us 8 requisites, and offering gifts to the monks, and also witnessing the merits and sharing the blessings. Also, there is different kind of activities like offerings to the Kapruka, wish fulfilling tree, that people normally make aspirations, wishes, and make there's a traditional offering we normally facilitate during the Cuttino ceremony time, which in every temple they set a tree and people try to offer things, make things onto that tree because it's a very traditional offering. So without further ado, I would like to start our program by observing the 5 precepts. So welcome you all to Daham Sisila 29th program hosted by Milton, Keynes Buddhist Vihara. Wishing you all good health, happiness and protection. Please say Namo Tassa 3 times to observe the precepts. I would very much like to invite our most venerable Dickwelle Seelasumana Pandit Hamdro to administer the 5 precepts.
Namaskare කියන කවුරු?
නමෝ තස්ස භගවතු අරහතෝ සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස නමෝ තස්ස භගවතු අරහතෝ සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස නමෝ තස්ස භගවතු අරහතෝ සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස
බුද්ධං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි
තං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි
ධම්මං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි
ධම්මං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි
සංඝං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි
සංඝං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි
ဒုတိယံ පි බුද්ධං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි
ဒုတိယံ පි බුද්ධං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි
ဒုတိယံ පි ධම්මං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි
ဒုတိယံ පි ධම්මං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි
ဒုတိယံ පි සංඝං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි
ဒုတိယံ පි සංඝං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි
တတိယံ පි බුද්ධං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි
တတိယံ පි බුද්ධං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි
တတိယံ පි ධම්මං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි
တတိယံ පි ධම්මං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි
တတိယံ පි සංඝං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි
တတိယံ පි සංඝං සරණං ගච්ඡාමි
පානාති පාතා වේරමණී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි
පානාතිපාතා වේරමණී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි
අදින්නාදානා වේරමණී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි
අදින්නාදානා වේරමණී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි
කාමේසු මිච්ඡාචාරා වේරමණී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි
කාමේසු මිච්ඡාචාරා වේරමණී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි
මුසාවාදා වේරමණී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි
මුසාවාදා වේරමණී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි
සුරාමේරය මජ්ජපමා දට්ඨානා වේරමණී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි
සුරාමේරය මජ්ජපමාදට්ඨානා වේරමණී සික්ඛාපදං සමාදියාමි සාදු සාදු සාදු
Now I would like to invite Most Venerable Dato Dr. Sumana Siri, Chief Prelate of Europe, to deliver this special talk on Corona, immunity, and Buddhist spirituality. Thank you.
Brother monks, ladies and sisters, sisters and brothers in the Dhamma. This is the 29th series in Daham Sisila. 29 is a very peculiar number for Buddhists also, because the Buddha left, as Prince Siddhartha, left the palace at the age of 29. So I hope by listening to my talk, one of you will also leave your house and go and become a monk. This is just a joke to begin with. So 29 is a figure to be concerned when it comes to the life of the Buddha, maybe for Buddhists also. As a prefatory note, I would like not to touch first on Corona, but give an overall introduction as to what I'm going to say. In the census of Great Britain, 2011, it was accounted that 250,000 British people are Buddhists, which is a significant increase from the 10 years before that, for 1 decade. So there must be some reason for this, that the Buddhists have grown in a number according to government statistics. One reason that I see is that Buddhist culture allows non-Buddhist elements in harmony to modernize Buddhism as a holistic religion for the 21st century. One of the reasons. The relevance of Buddhism to the modern social context lies in the fact that it offers a philosophical middle way that recognizes in principle the norms of scientific rationality. This is one of the reasons, because of its not believing things that cannot be experimented. Buddhism is an empirical science, as Kuchenberg, the great scientist in Germany, who had 12 patents on chemistry, said. Buddhism rejects both extremes, and the extreme value-free materialists, whose worldview of modern science and metaphysical and dogma extremism of traditional religion is also rejected in Buddhism. The problem is that modern science does not provide us with the knowledge of what is morally right or wrong, good or bad. It is value-free. Its interest is not in the human values, unlike religion and ethics and spirituality. So when these concerns are absent, it becomes a problem to make certain value judgments in our life. Then the desire to live well becomes an issue. If you just look at the United States market, or the American market for provision of meditation related services, they see it from a commercial point of view, is now worth more than $1 billion, and it is growing. Isn't that surprising also? Such a mindful revolution and inner awakening, which is brought Buddhist meditation into the corporate world, which makes corporate mindfulness as one of the programs that they can do to bring in effective social change. For the modern person, Buddhism provides rationality, justifiable moral ideals and goals. It is not just a moral religion. The Buddha was called the ace rationalist by Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, who was a philosopher from Cambridge and became president of India later. Buddhism provides rationally justifiable moral ideas. Then the problems in the scientific worldview attach no significance to the importance of the moral domain. Moral domain is considered as a matter of attitudes and emotions only. And moral values, according to science, are considered to be relative and only subjective, nothing to do with objective or the physical world. According to this view, only empirical facts have objectivity. Therefore, man is considered, from that point of view, as a stimulus response mechanism. The problem of modern society is a consequence of the separation of scientific knowledge and technical skill from moral wisdom. So great thinkers in Germany like Karl Jaspers, who wrote the book called The Great Philosopher in 1975, he recommended that Western Christians could learn from Buddhism, and he praised the cosmopolitanism of the Buddha's teachings and the flexibility and the non-dogmatic worldview of Buddhism. The middle way proposes that there is no objective reality independent of our mentally fabricated interpretations on perception or conceptual designations. And all that phenomena arise interdependently. Nothing is by itself or just independent by itself. Everything depends on another thing. The famous writer Alan Watts have noted, the final Buddhist vision of the world, field of related functions, is not so different from the worldview of the Western science, except the vision is experiential. The difference in Buddhism, therefore, is that it is an experiment that one realizes. It's called an empirical science for that, I repeat again, rather than the theoretical part of it. So therefore, we have to look at it from that angle as well. There is certainly no doubt that a wise and appropriate integration of science and spirituality can lead to a better understanding of how human beings think and behave in both the micro as well as the macro context. It is not by knowing, but by unknowing that the ground is prepared for the emergence of transformative insights into one's fundamental nature and identity. Unlike the scientific paradigm of knowledge acquisition, the path of spiritual transcendence is more about releasing all mental constructs rather than constructing concepts by gathering facts. The mind is not the brain is not the mind. They are interrelated. And such situation bring us to understand the brain is physical, that the mind is formless. It is not the mere physical activity of the brain as medical science say. So therefore, in Buddhism, it is a faculty. The mind is a faculty by itself. It's just you don't see it. You don't see it, but you know it is there. It is like the waves that come, you can't physically see from your own eye. Can you see your own eye from your eye? You cannot. So we need an open-minded construct without pure materialism, but to see that the interdependence of the physical and the spiritual can work together. So in other words, a post-materialist approach of science has demonstrated, for example, like non-physical phenomena, but not the scientists who don't want to believe it. They can only accept things when there is a physical materiality. So that is a problem. Let us now come to our corona issue. We live in the United Kingdom. Thursday, the last Thursday, 3-4 days ago, 11,289 cases in 24 hours, it rose. It's quite a surprising figure. It's frightening as well. The Friday before, in last week, it was 7,830, the rising of the number. So we are not in a very good situation. I will just show you the slides incorporated with this slide. So you can see clearly, as the slide says, and there it says, recovered is not applicable. This is quite strange. In many countries, they give the recovered figures. Why not here? This is something we need to question as well. Go to the next. So total coronavirus cases in the United Kingdom from February 15 to October 15. You can see the chart, how it goes up and slides and then goes up again. Daily new cases in the United Kingdom, February the 15th, it starts more from March the 2nd, it goes up and down, and then it goes up. By October 20th, today is the 25th, it has rise to almost 25K or so. This one. The total coronavirus deaths in the United Kingdom, a linear scale from February 15 to October 15. So these are striking examples of how this issue we should care, because living in the United Kingdom becomes inevitably a very sad story if we look at the present moment. I would like to draw your attention also to the Middle East, in one country which has the most, that is Iran, the worst hit country in the Middle East, and they have 31,034 deaths since February 2020. Coming back to one of the interesting spirituality point which provoked Einstein to say, science without religion is lame. And he also says, religion without science is blind. But evolved scientists, they believe in spirituality, though they don't accept religion. So objective analysis is science. Subjective understanding is spirituality. A dispirited science is more likely to be misused and exploited by vested interests. So science without spirituality is not only incomplete, it is also vulnerable. It could be dangerous. You never know. Spirituality without science is also problematic. If it is infected by dogmas and blind faith. Please take note that in Buddhism, the faith that you are supposed to have is called Akaravati Saddha, which means rational faith, not the blind faith. Science is more of information-based. Spirituality is the transformation of information. We live in the world of internet information technology. So Buddhism we can call transformation technology. Let us, whatever the case is, celebrate the unity of physics and metaphysics. It is clear that both science and advanced religion is essential for our well-being. Science without compassion can never be positive to human beings. For example, due to Corona, online work and education has become the norm. But it has lost the human touch. Today, an old devotee of our temple came in Letchworth, and he said, listening to the online is different. So this is human feeling, very important. We cannot be machine-centered. We have to be human-centered. The problem is not just the fear to the people have for the sickness, not understanding the facts and not getting to the point and having various kind of interpretation, misunderstanding, create more prejudices, and one of them is fear. Fear is a terrible thing. Of course, there are some positive results also. I'm not going to describe what Corona is, and that is not my duty. I want to draw to your attention a very interesting French scientist, Reverend Matthew Ricard, if you pronounce in English. In French, the name is Matthew Ricard. He is about 78 years old. After getting his PhD in new molecular genetics, he gave up. He was the son of a French philosopher, and the mother was also a great painter, well known in the country. He is a Buddhist monk and he is a nuclear molecular genetic scientist, speaks at the World Economic Conference Forum on sustainable harmony, caring ethics, and compassion. More than 1 million people have viewed his talks. So those who need his connection, I can pass it to you if you get in touch with the Milton Keynes Buddhist Vihara. Likewise, in 2007, at the United Nations Geneva Conference of the Philosophers Meet, which met with science, I had the great opportunity to give a new theory into the field of genetics. The paper is also found in the internet. It's put by the conference people. And the topic of my paper is, or was, genetics, the moral issue. Coming to our corona situation again, looking from a Buddhist spirituality, it is not looked at from the traditional religious point of view. Spirituality is not necessarily religion. Spirituality can be religion-based, but without blind belief. That is how a spirituality means, where the person, his inner being, is concerned more than what he believes. So there are books like Stephen Batchelor's Buddhism Without Belief, a very popular book, because he's been a monk in all three Buddhist traditions, and finally he thought that was the key to make people understand. Today in the West, Buddhist meditation of awareness has become a universal mindfulness subject by non-Buddhists and those who do not accept any religion at all. But they accept that meditation is a point of view for spirituality. Despite Buddhist meditation aiming for full liberation of suffering, in the United Kingdom in particular, Canada to some extent, and USA, some parts of Europe as well, in some hospitals, but many in the United Kingdom, mindfulness-based stress reduction, without saying it's Buddhist, is being practiced and used as a therapy. MBSR, they call it. And this is also now introduced into schools. When there is a call, the monks go there, or lay Buddhists who are experts in this, called ministers, they go there. At the same time, we have the prison chaplain group also of teaching Buddhist meditation, and it is now found as a mainstream thing and as a medical therapy to cure depression, anxiety, chronic pain, hypertension, skin and immune disorders, etc. Now these quotations are all from the NHS, the National Health Service of the United Kingdom. This is prescribed by them, and this is the results they give. So there are even apps to find how to learn meditation in the NHS agenda. And this meditation mindfulness apps are available free of charge. It tells you how to increase your focus, the meditation, and how you can regulate your emotions as well. Normally, apart from normal chantings, there are 4 healing sutras in Theravada Buddhism. And in Tibetan Buddhism, it practices what they call healing sutras and healing Buddhas as well. The Buddha has called himself as a doctor, and he has defined himself as a surgeon. This is found in the Itivuttaka and the Apadana Pali. And the famous Charaka Samhita of Indian medicine was written by a Buddhist. He worships the Buddhist in the opening of that treatise. From the 3rd century to the 8th century, Buddhist healing in China was popular and accepted by the emperor's court. In the West, Buddhism is also defined like this. Buddhism is a boundless source of tools, technologies, ideas, and practice for human health and well-being. If you look into B.L. Rogers' book written in 2002. Coming to our NHS, we have three interesting books written by three gentlemen. One is Rethinking Nursing Science Through the Understanding of Buddhism. And the other, written by Stoner Smith, 2003, How Buddhism Influences Pain Control. This is one of the nursing books, in fact. And then the third book by Nigel North, Nursing with Dignity. Nigel North is an NHS professional. He says, Buddhism is like a chameleon. If you remember Boy George's song, Kama 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 Chameleon. A chameleon can change its colors and suit to many things. So likewise, the flexibility, the adaptability of Buddhism has that great quality, that religion can exist in many forms. And he says, Buddhism has no beliefs, instead it has teachings. Just contemplate on what he says. In the UK, meditation is one of the key concepts that many Buddhist teachers called ministers effectively give these services. And also, the Royal College of Psychiatrists in this country use Buddhist vipassana, they use the term there, meditation as a therapy that benefits people with mental health problems. So as far as Corona is concerned, you can see how much Buddhism can, or Buddhist spirituality, more than the religion, can be a usage tool for this particular purpose. Now on to immunity side. I'm going to show you this million-dollar question of how to get perfect health through meditation. In today's pandemic-stricken world, there is a deepening understanding that true health involves not only the body, but the mind and spirit as well. An interesting perspective on truly integrated health involves both the mind and the body, the psychophysical complex. Unlike bacteria infections, which can be treated with antibiotics, the only defense against viruses such as COVID-19, corona, is our immune system. It is now widely accepted that this immune system of ours can be seriously compromised by stress, anxiety, fear, which I mentioned earlier, depression, and other negative emotions common in this world. The worldwide lockdown emergencies have caused another sort of emergency, where anxiety, depression, and so on, rising very sharply, and the obvious result is also unavoidable suicides. On the other hand, it is now accepted by many that happiness, joy, optimism can help to keep these immune defenses strong. Meditation, veneration, and mindfulness have become mainstream, not only to alleviate mental and emotional imbalance, but also with regard to positive impact on the immune system and overall physical health. I'm not talking about mental health, but how health, physical and mental, can be balanced. So as the United States Maryland Medical Center University says, increasing numbers of people interested in spirituality to enhance well-being. This is quite very surprising from a medical science point of view, because in traditional basic medicine does not answer all the problems people have in health. Meditation in particular has moved from fringe to mainstream. As part of growing holistic health consciousness in the realms of fitness, nutrition, and spirituality, and meditation is growing very fast, the fastest growing interests and industries across all levels in society. It is seen as a positive, effective life skill in an increasing complex and perplexed world. The WHO research panel concluded by the year 2000, stress and depression would be the second highest causes of physical and mental ill health and disability worldwide, topped only by heart disease. That means after heart disease comes this problem situation of disability due to physical and mental ill health. Evidence of this is clear in the fast-growing groundswell of interest in meditation and in popularity of mindfulness techniques. And this not only in private practice of people, but in the growing stress management industry in the corporate world and workplace, schools and hospitals. So Western science has begun to validate the benefits of meditation, as featured by Time magazine a few times. Result of many studies have been showing, if you look at the science magazines that come up in the United States very frequently, when we pass by to bookshops in the airports, we can always see them being sold very well. Spiritual beliefs heals faster from surgery. It makes us less anxious and less depressed. It lowers blood pressure, especially meditation, and cope better with chronic illnesses such as arthritis, diabetes, heart disease, cancer, and spinal cord injury. The regular practice of worship and meditation is also strongly associated with recovery and abstinence from drugs. So the understanding of two tells us that science is still in its infancy, how not to understand this. But if it can go hand in hand, it will be able to give a better version to understand things much more better. Many books address the inner holistic secrets of perfect health, considering the connection between the mind and the body. We can see such topics, how life receives energy from healthy diet, proper sleep, dealing with stress and depression, exercises for losing weight and overcoming insomnia, how to create physical habits that enhance spiritual practice, and many others. If we look at the negative side of life, we see unhappiness, sorrows, anxieties, fear, doubt, and so on. If we look at the positive side, we see faith, love, joy, readiness, willingness, and so on, the noble qualities. Now we want to balance our life in such a way that the negatives will not be able to conquer the positives, and the balance comes from the inner balance that we need to grow in. So therefore, brothers and sisters, that immunity can be enhanced by practicing religion and particularly meditation is well established today in the world. Spirituality is for seekers who do not believe in something until experience. It's just like science. And religion is for believers. That is a bit different. Who are ready to believe which they have not yet experienced. But spirituality is different. The problem, now if you look at modern science also, it says that at the subatomic level, there is no mass, but only energy. Energy that you can read and you can feel, but you cannot see. Don't forget that. So this is very interesting. And it is further said, and subatomic particles constantly disappear into emptiness. If you read more about emptiness in Mahayana Buddhism, you'll be surprised. A Buddhist monk has described during the 1st century the parts of the atom very beautifully. His name is Vasubandhu. To reappear finally of nothing when that emptiness is there. So it is not the end of the things that things are physical only. Nothing plus something combined interdependently to make everything on earth. The worst kind of identity is when we say, oh, I am spiritual. That is not the real yogic way. Spirituality and science have to go together. Because in the upper realm of understanding spirituality, you shatter your identities, you get rid of your egos, and then you see reality. So this is what I want to say about the immunity part and how the relationship between science and spirituality can help us to see a lot of things in a more clear way. Even more troubling is the scientific advice on the subject of nutrition involving preventive health often reverse over to the course of time. Now the COVID-19 is here. Medical opinion and information about the virus is being positioned as definitive, when in fact there is much that's still unknown about the virus and how it functions. So we need to be careful, because the intent of scientific study is worthy for sure, to foster better health care, but the assumptions that they have give us problem to try to understand this. Those who don't blindly accept the authority of various pronouncements by medical establishments about things like diet and nutrition, or following a holistic lifestyle, or some other reasons, if you are not accepting your thought as a person who is anti-science, because we are so machine-centered to believe that digitals are our gods, that all other things are not so important. So, sisters and brothers, I want to take you to a different dimension in this talk of a great person who had very interesting insights. He was Schumacher. Can you show that fifth slide? Schumacher was a Buddhist who wrote the book called Small is Beautiful. And in that book, he has shown Buddhist economics, how we can make such economics and this earth can grow. At the same time, he talks about spirituality in a very great sense. So one of his quotation is here: the generosity of the earth allow us to feed all mankind. We know enough about ecology to keep the earth a healthy place, about health. There is enough room on the earth, and there are enough materials so that everybody can have adequate shelter. We are quite competent enough to produce sufficient supplies of necessities so that no one need live in misery. All these sufferings he says, because of the imbalances of the understanding of the world as a whole. When you don't think, and when you think it's only part of the issue, it becomes problematic. So from E.F. Schumacher's point of view, he was an economist thinker. He was the principal advisor to the National Coal Board of the United Kingdom for 20 years. And he wrote beautiful books like Small is Beautiful, A Guide to the Perplexed. From A Guide to the Perplexed, I will give you another interesting quotation. What he says, that how we can understand more in that field to read more correctly into certain issues that are useful. He says, that the shock of crisis has exposed a deep confusion as to how we should respond. Even if we refer to the COVID virus, there's no problem. A perplexity has been exposed, stemming from a lack of appropriate answers or even any clarity as to what questions should be asked in the first place. Without appropriate guidelines to plot a way forward, it is as if we are adrift in stormy seas with the attendant nausea, without any clear direction of where land and safety may be. So these are the problems, and he's trying to say that much of the long-term political debate seems to revolve around turning the clock back to the failed solution of the last century. For example, a rewarming of authoritarian nationalism on the right and top-down big state solutions on the left. There is no way apportioning blame to anyone in particular, and a pandemic would be a shock to any civilization, however enlightened they seem to think. For some, however, this perplexity is no surprise. It has been clear that the modern world has been adrift for a long time. Schumacher argued that the task of philosophy is to provide maps for living in the whole world, pointing out the important points of reference, allowing us to chart a course towards, remember, a holistic, healthy, fulfilling, and happy life. He has stressed on happiness a lot at the same time. So, after some time, we read and see that this situation, when it is not seen from a holistic aspect, it becomes a problem in the world. And only when we solve this, we can rise above and then get the whole state of present life to wholeness, health, and to happiness. Unlike otherwise, we won't get to that point at all. So in that exercise, it's intended that the direction out of perplexity we face in the modern world, more than anything, it is to understand the nature of the problems that we face in the first place. Not to solve them, but merely to identify them. Once identified, the path ahead is beautifully laid out by the precepts, how Buddhist spirituality tells us. Number one, comprehensive philosophy embracing the whole of knowledge. Number two, system of meditation enabling clarity of focus. Number three, the art of living, right activity, samma kammanta or samma vayama in body, speech, and mind. This path leads to hope that as a humanity we can start to see our present crisis, that of life and death, not simply as something to be technically fixed, but also in the longer term to begin to ask the important questions and to really start living in the world. I want to come to the point of the French Buddhist monk who is a scientist and end my explanation on one I have to speak to you today. He has written very interesting books on explains how, as a molecular genetic scientist, he looks at the world and given his exposition. And to go to the World Economic Forum for a Buddhist monk is not a simple matter. He has gone there a few times and he has given his views where many heads of nations and economics specialists and scientists and others interested parties who join. Once in a while you can see the news about him. If you get to the website http://altruismbook.com. Even if you don't have that, you can just get to the Google and look for Matthew Ricard. He's a Buddhist monk. He's been a Buddhist monk for about 30 over years and a very happy person. Lives in Nepal and promotes Buddhism, as it is said, on sustainable harmony and caring economics and compassion. Not just Buddhist books. He looks at science, especially from his angle where he has specialized in his work. So therefore, we need to understand that there is certainly no doubt that there's a wise and appropriate way of how we can bring the two streams together to make a happy medium to come out of fear, not only of corona, of any epidemic or pandemic that comes in society. Thank you very much, brothers and sisters.
Thank you, Bhante, for that illuminating talk. Thank you so much. And we already have some questions that have been forwarded to us. And the first question comes from Sangeeta and Asanga. And I'm going to read out the question. Hello, could we kindly ask a question? Looking back at the past 100 years and more, every so often, the world has experienced various types of plagues, pandemics, and a lot of lives have been lost every time. How can we understand this from a Buddhist way of thinking? Why this has been happening? Is this karma? And that's from Asanga and Sangeeta.
Okay, everything is not because of karma. You see, there are four kinds of four or five kinds of order in later Buddhism, depending on different conditions. Like if the season is like that, if it is, they're called niyama dhammas. It's not originally from the Buddha, but from the monks who describe the commentators. They're quite useful also to understand the gap that has been left has been answered by the commentary in that form. Karma is only one of the things. The problem is if we believe that everything is because of karma, it becomes problematic. And out of the 62 religions that the Buddha rejected, one is Pubbe Kata Hetu Vada, which means that everything is because of past karma. This the Buddha has rejected outrightly. The Buddhist karma is different from the Hindu karma. The Buddhist karma is not deterministic, not fatalism, not a fated thing. Because you can do higher good karmas and get rid of the lower bad karmas. You see, there are human creations a lot in the world, in our environment. I didn't go into ecology because it's not the theme that I've chosen today. But Schumacher and many others have gone into that and they try to save the world. So it's a big issue if we people are not very greedy, if they are not over greedy. You see, our resources are less, our desires are higher than that, as even Gandhi said, no? On Science and Spirituality, Gandhi mentioned this also. And when we have over desire and we want to be the highest evolved people because of the little things we know and because of our ego, as the most evolved being we think we are, that's a problem. So in human created sicknesses, there are many. Don't forget that. And my personal belief, knowing Chinese culture very well, brought up among Chinese 73% in my hometown in Singapore, for me, this is actually a human created problem. I don't say which country. Certain things, the environment, certain things, the time, certain things by nature. Nature is not perfect. The problem is people have prejudices to think nature creates a lot of other disasters as well. The problem is when people are fixed in their thinking, okay, to be a naturist is the best, to be natural is the best. But what is natural today? Do you understand? So if we understand that many reasons causes many problems, and it's not only one reason like karma that creates everything, then we can get rid of that.
Thank you, Hamdurni. I hope that was a sufficient answer, well explained by Hamdru. And the second question comes, sorry, I have...
one of the person has raised the hand, so the person can ask the question.
Yes, yes. Please go ahead.
Yes, you'll need to connect your audio to the meeting. At the moment, your microphone is not enabled.
Okay, then we'll move on if there is no microphone being connected.
Yeah. So there's a question from Shelby.
Oh, yes, that's yes. Sorry, go ahead, Arosha.
Yes. So the question from Shelby, I'll read it out as well. How does Buddhism help to balance unconscious with the conscious mind when I have anxiety for survival in the outside world? I am scared of anger, attack, and rejection by others, but I do not like to conform to society. I have sensitivity and cannot easily adapt to the primitive world.
If you have a sensitivity, then you need to balance your sensitivity problem first. And if you are only natural and not sensitive or oversensitive, then you won't have a problem to look things as they really are. The world perceptions are made by people. And if we simply say, okay, I want my own view, then it's a prejudice that I have. There are 4 types of prejudice. One is because you like something and you cling to it, and that prejudice is because of likes. Then there are prejudices which you dislike, and whatever the person or the theory says, you dislike at all, fully. We must try to see how knowledge can be used, be complementary, not only for oneself, but for the others also. Not only my opinion, but the opinion of others for both parties. A well-being of a society described by the Buddha is happiness for one, happiness for the other, and happiness for both parties. He doesn't say only for me, myself. If we are selfish and we think only from like my point of view, that ego is a disturbing thing. So we need to be humble in order to understand, to give and take, not to compromise with the wrong thing, but to look at it and express very freely. There's nothing wrong in the freedom, but we also must know that freedom depends on bondage. You cannot have total freedom as such by using words or theories or ideologies.
Thank you, Bhante. Shelby, if you'd like to follow up, you're welcome to unmute your microphone and speak. I'll just enable that.
For example, when I was about 21 years old, a long time ago, my auntie wanted to marry a man since my parents were dead during Civil War time. But somehow I couldn't adapt to that view of Jaffna people. But I became very scared of it, scared of my auntie, and tried to marry a man. From that day, I had this depression. And I didn't marry the man. I left the country, went to Germany. And then they forced me to study biology and take the evolutionary theory, which I couldn't do because in Sri Lanka, we were not forced. We were taught to take actualization. Like Mahabharata, the Krishna says to Arjuna, you have to take actualization. You have to lead the practical world. You have to lead your wife. You have to lead the child. Even his child was killed and he has to take the actualization. I was taught from my childhood to take the actualization, but later in life, due to this war problem, I have to take the practical world, which I couldn't adapt. I became very sick. I went to psychiatrist in Germany, psychiatrist in the UK, and I'm fed up with my life. I want to come back to myself. I want to feel the way I felt when I had my parents. I didn't have a proper life for about 30 years. Many nurses, many psychiatrists, many doctors. I'm fed up with it. I want to return home. I often cry at night. I don't know how to solve this problem.
Yes, I think you are expressing from how you have faced a crisis because of cultural conditioning from your parents' side. We don't agree to such things. It is right that what you need and what you wanted, what you desired, what you were expecting is to get a person of your choice. When parents push too much, it becomes a big problem, not only to them as they think, but more to the very person involved in a marriage, of course, certainly. So we sympathize with your case. We would like to suggest to you that go into your inner spirituality and awaken that by practicing good Hinduism. Since you are a Hindu, it's no problem. It's not the religion, it's the practice which is important. And try to follow some steps in meditation and see someone who can give you some good instructions to reduce all that formal medication by psychiatrists, psychoanalysts, because they are also to a large extent dogmatic. They go according to the theories of the books. They treat the sickness but not the person. That's the problem. This is briefly only I'm explaining to you. But apart from that, I know you have a big psychological backdrop of a problem because of the parental intervention in the choice. A person must be given a free choice with good guardians, but not with suppression.
Thank you, Bhante.
We sympathize with you, your condition. You can come out of it. If a problem cannot be solved, it is not a problem, because a solution is there. That is why it is called a problem. Think about the law of interdependence. Light becomes meaningful because there is darkness. So darkness also has a value. See that everything is interdependent. One depends on the other. But dependence doesn't mean that you have to become a slave, even to your parents.
Thank you, Bhante. I'll hand back to Ajit Uncle if there are more questions in the chat to him. You're muted, Ajit Uncle.
Yes, we do have another question. Thank you very much, Bhante, for that extended explanation. So this question comes from Mrs. Rani Vaz from Toronto. And here's the question. Another side effect of the COVID-19 is the separation of young couples having very young children. They have to work from home, spending 24 hours at home with each other. They start seeing each other's faults and mistakes only. They don't appreciate the company of each other anymore. Their kids who were going to daycare are at home. These poor children become a nuisance to the parents. They become very unhappy, very frustrated and depressed. And for them, the ultimate solution is separation. I myself know two couples who went through this a few weeks ago, and another couple who are on the verge of going through this. What advice can we give the people who are in this situation?
You see, the corona pandemic, which has taken a long time to find a vaccine, certainly creates a lot of problems. Problems are not things that are alien, that we always think we have a solution for everything. There is no pill for all ills. We have to understand there are different pills for different ills. So when the situation comes, we need to be more equilibrated, equanimated, and look at the situation. Most of the children who don't have enough communication with parents because of the pressure of high consumption, overconsumption, and commercialization in the bad economic systems that we have today, there is a great distance between parents and children. And they see parents casually because shift type of work divides the family. There must be also a good reason why the COVID has given positive results. Positive results because for the first time in a few decades, children start to see the mother and father more. They got the warmth of the parents. Now they have time to talk to the parents, which they didn't have before. And the parents also, because they have no other choice. But this shouldn't be because you don't have other choice you are talking. No. Parents and children must have good communication. For wise parenting, parents have their duties and children have their rights and their duties also. If we are only right-based, that's the problem. a materialistic society which has created individualism, where people think, I know everything, my system is everything right and perfect. So this misunderstanding or exaggeration is a problem. You need to harmonize with your parents, and parents need to give their kind words. The human touch must be there. And of course, they miss their friends. Even we miss our devotees miss us. There is a gap also we need to fix up for good human understanding and services that from the religious side that even we can provide to our devotees. So sometimes they really want to come and they just cannot come, they fear. The fear they must get rid of by understanding a little bit more with tolerance, not just by mere information, by reading news or just what you get in the social media. Social media will put you left sometime, right sometime, and nowhere most of the times. So be very careful. Read whatever, listen whatever with understanding, with compassion, to give and take and to understand more. Everyone must understand the value of being housebound as well, though it is temporary. And there are many good things that people also say, oh, because of Corona, now we are able to do this and that also. Those who are very working like salesmen, now they say for the first time we have time to relax and we still get what we want. And many who get their pay pack as the same in the United Kingdom without much difficulty like many other countries, I think they are in a quite comfortable position when it comes to finance. So there are plus points also. Corona is not as bad as how people think, but the figures make us worry, because I believe traveling to 66 countries and looking at the world, that there is no proper management from the administration in the very beginning in February, March in the United Kingdom. And sorry to say, but the Prime Minister also was affected by Corona. So leaders should take a lead to show good example to the citizens, and also not simply wait till the things happen. Because we know many patients think, not Corona patients, normal people, it won't happen to me. This is because of their ego belief. My health is good, my health is perfect. This me-ism in the capitalist mode, terrible. And they just simply dislike to believe any rule or follow any rule, and simply they want to demonstrate. So that is another problem which people have created. What do you think? Let me ask all of you. That many people say the Corona is not true at all. And you have doctors and others going to parliament areas and demonstrating, not only in the United Kingdom, in Germany, terribly, many doctors got together.
I certainly have. I'm sure other people do have as well. Yes. Does anyone have a comment on that? Okay, Bante, what I wanted to ask was, I think you're quite right. If it is something we don't see and we find it difficult to believe, the only thing that makes me think that it is real is the numbers that in the first wave, the numbers of people who passed away, and the numbers, overwhelming numbers that were admitted to the hospital. So apart from that, I see it's very difficult to comprehend this.
There's also a problem sometime in different countries where we think a manipulation is being used in the statistical figures. You see, there are three kinds of lies in the world. One is the normal lie. Number two is the lie that use as a white lie. Just to save something, you tell a lie. Number 3 is statistics.
So there is another question from Rumi.
Hello, can you hear
Yes.
me?
Yes,
Teruvan
please
Saranai.
go ahead.
Teruvan Saranai. Thank you very much for the discussion we had so far. Firstly, I have to say that I nearly lost my life for Corona in March, April time. In fact, it was quite a bad sort of episode I had. So I can only sort of share my experience working in health sector, at the same time just getting this very, very, I would say that I can only describe, it's like it was something that you experience near death. That is how I could sort of experience. Now what I learned from it is spiritually is that when everything is around you that you have earned, or you have sort of in a hard way that you have earned, you can't do anything. So at the same time, that is a realization of this is everything is anitya, and it leads into that only a little bit of water and air would keep you alive. And that is what I learned positively. And of course, that to be a strong and a better person when it comes to your profession as a doctor. Now, that is something that I personally would like to kind of share. Now, secondly, a lady mentioned about the depression, and I understand that Bhante, your experience and your explanation about the psychiatrist. But I humbly, slightly need to kind of share that as a psychiatrist working in this country for many years, that we would think that depression is like diabetes. It is because of something happens in our brain due to chemical imbalance. And I have to sort of share that we need to think about this particular lady who mentioned about her condition. Thank you very much. But you need to think about, is it the right condition that she has, or is there something else that we are missing? So I would think that as a senior person who's working in that area, that we need to think about, she needs to think, is the depression that we are having or something else? So therefore I just would like her to be be hopeful. And we always think about this recovery way of dealing with depression compared to Sri Lanka or some other countries all over the world. So I would think it is very important that lady that need to think about maybe a timeline, what really happened in her life. There are therapies that we can think of. So that is my view of, that lady who mentioned about her condition. So
Yes, I
I
understand.
only give that hopefulness to that lady to think about getting better. So thank you.
Yeah, I think no one should think that there is no such thing as no return in the thing, that this is the end of it. No one should give up any hope. You can always look for hope if you are a spiritual person. If you are thinking only in terms of results and only matter without facts, without giving some space, don't fill up ideas in your brain, and you don't give room for new things to come in. Keep some space empty in the brain so that a new kind of knowledge, inner awakening will arise in you. This I'm telling to the young lady who were very emotional and expressed a problem earlier. There is a hope always.
Thank you, Bhante, and thank you very much, Dr. Rooney, for those extremely valuable comments, especially as a medical professional. Thank you. We also have two other comments, which I'm going to read out. The first is from Priya. I feel the West thrives in libertarian attitudes, hence submission to rule and control are not in their genes. And also the other comment is from Yohani Anagi de Silva. The people who believe are the ones that are affected. Sorry, the people who believe are the ones that are affected and who may have lost their loved ones. So
to the first one, I will again say, if you are not prepared to have a discipline, you will never be well and happy, even in your whole life system. If you just think that your liberty is more important than anything else, I don't see much difference from that view and a fundamentalist as well. Extremist views are extreme no matter how we make. If we can find the middle way, why Buddhism is called the middle way, not to take extreme points for pleasure or for pain, to be equilibrated in your way of reading. That is the highest liberty. If you don't come to that point of liberty, all the other freedoms become nonsense and becomes a big problem. After the French Revolution, what Europe has seen has created more dissension and destruction into the human psyche, their own spiritual well-being. I'm not referring only to fundamentalism in religion, but the entire way of thinking in a few European countries is like that, where discipline is not considered important at all. Could you repeat the second question?
Yes, the second comment. The people who believe are the ones that are affected and who may have lost their loved ones. I don't know whether Anagi would like to elaborate on that a bit by unmuting yourself. I think the comment was made on the earlier.
Not a question, yeah. That's all right.
In answer to that, the people who believe are the ones that are affected and who may have lost their loved ones.
It's understood. It's not a question. Certainly, we have great sympathy for those who have been affected and their near and dear ones who are also facing the pain. We have to be happy in people's prosperity, and we also share our sadness in their disasters.
Thank you, Bhante. And yes, I think that's been a very profitable and a useful discussion with a few comments and questions. Is there anyone who would like to?
Can I ask another question, please?
Sorry, who are you?
Yeah, I'm Ruvini.
Oh, hello, Dr. Ruvini. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I just wanted to ask a question. Swaminwansa, why do you think that psychiatric patients during this corona period, they spat at you, they being very more violent and try to kind of deliberately trying to spread this by spitting at you and trying to kind of.
I didn't hear your last part. Please.
Yes.
Again.
Why do you think, Swaminwansa, that psychiatric patients during this pandemic time, they sometimes spit at you, and then sometimes they take the saliva and trying to put on your face? So it is very difficult. So please give some, positive way of how to handle this anger. I mean, sometimes you would get angry and sometimes upset, when we try to do our job at the same time, try to care for this patient. So please give some ideas how to.
Some ideas. Well, psychiatric patients, this is quite normal when they do all this. It's not just because of corona. At other times also. But if you use your balance as a good nurse or a doctor, the Buddha has given 5 ways of how difficult it is to treat difficult patients that cannot be cured. I'm not here to explain all that. We'll get that and discuss some other time. But the idea is, in such difficulties, one has to practice patience oneself. Medical people who are in the noble profession and not fat medical doctors who are out for money must have more compassion, because it's a noble profession. It's not just another job. Teacher's profession is also an important noble way of doing, not just teaching for tuition for money. Education is not just for making capital, but for the balance of the person. So as a practitioner myself in the field of medicine, when I see certain patients, we understand why they're having all these fixed opinions, especially when I see patients in Italy. Many of them come and tell us the same questions that the psychoanalyst asked them. And we wonder, how can a same model of questions fit everybody? It cannot be the same. Every person, human being in spirituality, particularly Buddhism, is unique. And one who reacts to that is different. And not all chemistry works for everybody the same. There are a lot of human beings with less organs, not very vital ones, but they also live in this world. And many others who are different from the others. If we can understand this variation, even in psychiatric or patients under psychology therapy, then it won't be much of a problem, I suppose. A lot of patience to tolerate the most intolerable thing is the highest form of religion.
You're muted, Ajitanku.
I'm sorry. Yes, I was just saying, would it be possible for us to forward this question also to Samitha Hamdru, as he also has experience in this field? Any additional comments?
I think our Reverend Dr. Sumana Siri gave a very comprehensive answer to that. Of course, we need to see the kind of uniqueness of the person, rather try to put certain formulas into that. Even the person can be different from moment to moment. When we kind of find some examples of 6 types of characteristics explained in the Visuddhi Magga, the path of purification, to understand the person's diversities and uniqueness, and also the situations. So we are kind of in that sense, in that understanding, as our Reverend said, somewhat been satisfied when we try to relate into certain patients, because that we try to relate them into personally, and we have a little bit of flexibility and openness, because we are not kind of abide by all these regulations and rules, which of course we have great respect for that when we were kind of interacting with those situations. And going back to a little bit further, what Dr. Rubini said is very reasonable and meaningful. You know, you are dealing with much greater problems in very clinical situations, and sometimes there will be different reactions into it to the situations. So like the patient has frustration, even the professionals has a lot in their mind and in their life in the situation. So we need to be compassionate to both sides, understanding we are human, and we need a lot of practices. Otherwise, I normally heard from one of my professionals, and he started psychiatry in the health sector, and he says after a few weeks, Bhante, is so hard to find who are the professionals and who are the patients, because eventually they both become very identical after a while, because it's very true according to Buddhism. That is why we love Buddhism, not as just a spirituality or religion, because we can be eventually affected with what we are around and what we see, what we hear eventually. So therefore, what he was saying, he goes for a lot of swimming, lot of sports and lot of meditation, lot of chanting, just to cleanse or deconstruct himself from being affected from that. So in that circumstances, like what Dr. Rubini mentioned, there are very violent, very serious situations that we sometimes happen to experience. We need to be first in the health and safety, and we need to be very alert and awake, and we need to follow a lot of regulations, because it can be into a long process. Even your life and the job could be in serious threat if you make simple mistakes because of these lot of rules and regulations. We can't do just things like that. But in that sense, as Buddhist monks, we have a little bit of a freedom in our environment. But again, you got to be careful. There are a lot of few Buddhist monks went into even serious court problems by just try to be not careful. So you are very right. This is a very serious situation, and we need to be extra courses, extra trained, extra practice. It's not easy. Even when we hear two people, you are completely gone for the whole day. To listen to someone is not easy. So therefore, you may be seeing at least 10-15 patients like that. And we need to understand the professionals are also human beings, and they need a lot of support. So like the patients are being given a lot of support. Also to the lady, Shelvi, who asked the first question, I would like to share something for her as well. As our Hamduro mentioned, there is always room for development, progress. What I experience being with sometimes professionals, they sometimes say everything for alternative things, holistic things. But unfortunately, some people are very much like a prescription, very much like they normally says, oh, that's not worth going to the doctor because he doesn't give any medicine or prescription. They normally encourage people to go for some alternatives, try to develop their energy and their strength. Sometimes it doesn't register in the patient. It doesn't really goes into our mind. It could happen to me, in my certain time of life, when I was going through some difficult times, I did not see every benefit, every good thing, because that is how the life can be. So therefore, what I can say it, sometimes doctors do encourage for you to find, sometimes you expect only a prescription. Otherwise, you think that that doctor is not good enough. So if a doctor gives you a prescription, then you are very happy because you expect to put a pill into your mouth and make a miracle. So that doesn't work. We need a lot of extra, like Buddhist monks, we work very hard, about 2-3 hours of practice a day. Still we feel need of more. So therefore, what I can encourage, if you work hard with the right instructions from a proper spiritual, and as our Hamdro said, spirituality always should be goes with the science. Science here does not mean that perfect one. It got to be somewhat balanced, and then there is, and certainly good hope for development. So thank you very much for giving me Ajit Mahathya opportunity, and I will pass back to you.
Thank you very much, Bhante, both of you, for those wonderful explanations. Thank you, Dr. Rubini, for asking the second question and the comments. So I think, yeah, unless you have anything further to add or anyone else has any more questions, I think we are now able to conclude the program. I don't see any more comments or messages. It's important for us to mention that, yes, I mean, a couple of things. Obviously, we have been, the program has been running without a sponsor, off and on, and it'll be really nice if any of you are able to sponsor our future programs. And talking of future programs, next week, we will not be having Daham Sisila, and that is for a very good reason. It is our Cuttino puja, Cuttino celebration, Cuttino occasion. That will be next Sunday, and we will start at a slightly earlier time. I think we are scheduled to start perhaps 4 p.m. It might be 4:30, but it'll be on our Vihara WhatsApp group. And then following that, and the next week, which is the 8th, November the 8th, we will also not have the Daham Sisila, as we have a general meeting of the Milton Keynes Vihara scheduled. So I'm very sorry about these interruptions, as I know that a lot of you are really benefiting and enjoying the program. We will certainly be back on the 15th of November with, as usual, with our Daham Sisila. So thank you very much, everybody, for having joined us today and for those wonderful questions and participation. And I think we are now ready to do a general anumodana. I think Hamdurne, if you would like to conclude the with the general anumodana.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ajit De Silva, and also Professor Arosha Bandara for being behind the technical side and also program hosting. Thank you very much for all our devotees, our viewers and listeners for joining in this evening for the Daham Sisila 29th program. And I need to give a big thank you to our most venerable Dr. Dato Sumana Siri for giving a good opportunity for us to open our mind and benefit from a lot of wisdom. And I know personally he spent a lot of time in researching and thinking, work very hard to present that talk. So I, with my whole heart, share my blessings for our Reverend Dr. Sumana Siri for all the good health, all the happiness, all the protection. May his parents share our merits, and all the loved ones be shared our blessings and merits. Even though we don't have a sponsor today, you can sponsor these programs in the future if you wish. If you are interested, please do let us know. And finally, we still going through very uncertain times. Lot of anxiety, lot of stress being developed in many parts. So therefore, we take this opportunity to share our spiritual blessings. Even some of you are going through a lot of difficulties due to this lot of restrictions, which is natural. We need to understand that, and we need to work together to overcome this. And we can certainly do that. Therefore, do keep joining. We have quite a few spiritual activities going on, and we would like to keep you in our heart, in our blessings. So we take this opportunity to share our blessings with you. May you have the mental strength, physical strength, all the blessings from the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, and all the objects of veneration. Also to all the members of the temple, I would like to remind that next week we have very important meritorious activity. If you would like to take part, you can join offering Attapirikara or robes, or even offering things to the wish fulfilling tree we call Kapruk, which is a traditional offering alongside with this Cuttino ceremony. Now, As venerable monks, we would going to share the merits with Devas. May the Devas rejoice in our merits and share the blessing for the temple and also venerable monks. May they be well, safe, and continue their good work. May the temple progress from strength to strength. May the Devas, celestial beings, bless you all for good health. May your family, loved ones be secured. And also we would like to share the merits with those who are no longer with us, those who lost their lives, and may they equally share our merits, and may they attain supreme bliss of Nibbana. Bearing this, let us join together for the final sharing merits and blessings from venerable monks. Akasattha ca bhummattha deva naga mahiddika punyantang anumoditva chiran rakkantu sasanang. Akasattha ca bhummattha deva naga mahiddika punyantang anumoditva chiran rakkantu desanang. Akasattha ca bhummattha deva naga mahiddika punyantang anumoditva chiran rakkantu mang paranti. Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idang me nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Abhivadana silissa niccang vaddhapachayino. Chattaro dhamma vaddanti ayuvanno sukhang balang. Ayurarogya sampatti sagga sampatti mevaca. Ato nibbana sampatti minate samicchatu.
Sadhu. එහෙනම් අපි ස්වාමීන් වහන්සේලා වදින ගාථාවෙන් කියමු. ඕකාස වන්දාමි භන්තේ මයා කතං පුඤ්ඤං සාමිනා අනුමෝදිතබ්බං සාමිනා කතං පුඤ්ඤං මයිහං දාතබ්බං ඕකාස ద్వාරත්තේන කතං සබ්බං අච්චයං කමත මේ භන්තේ ඕකාස කමාමි භන්තේ ဒ ුතියම්පි ඕකාස කමාමි භන්තේ තතියම්පි ඕකාස කමාමි භන්තේ. සාදු සාදු සාදු. මේ හොඳයි එහෙමනම් අපි ඔබ කාටත් ආරාධනා කරලා සිටිනවා එන සුමානේ හවස 4 ඉඳන් අපේ කටින උත්සවයට පුළුවන් නම් සහභාගී වෙන්න කියලා මේ දහම් සිසිල අහන්න කාටත් පුළුවන්. ඒ ගැන වැඩි විස්තර අපේ WhatsApp group එකේ දානවා මේ notice එකක්. එතකොට එහෙමනම් අපි තා සුමාන 3කින් ඒ කියන්නේ නොවැම්බර් 15 වෙනිදා ඊළඟ දහම් සිසිල වැඩසටහනෙන් නැවත හමු වෙනකම් ඔබ සියලු දෙනාටම සම්මා සම්බුදු සරණයි.